Okay. Thank you so much, Rocky. That was beautiful and amazing. And the feeling is mutual. What a special relationship we have had together over the years. Just like that first reunion I went to in 2021, and it then came to find out it was like your first day working at Caron. And yes, all those things, and just being so blessed to have you present me my coin the last 2 years at Chapel. So thank you for that. Thank you all. So my name's Tina. I am an alcoholic and grateful Caron alum. I was at Caron, Wernersville, December 2020 into January of 21, and my sobriety date is December 17th, 2020. So ironically, today's the 17th, and I'm a big month celebrant. So it happens to be 50 months for me today, 4 years and 2 months of sobriety. And I attribute so much of that to my Caron connection and so many of you here that have been on this ride with me and that have joined since. So I feel this is so surreal for me, honestly, to be asked to be a speaker. I joined the first speaker series when I left Caron back in early 2021, and I've done every one since. And it's really like watching people speak, I'd be like, oh my God, wow, that's so brave. How do they do that? Like, that's crazy, all those people. And here I am. So it's really, I feel very blessed and grateful to have this opportunity. So um, I will start now. So I'm on step 7 this week, and this reads, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. So last week, for those who were on, Mark spoke on step 6. He did a really great job paving the way for me to lead into step 7, because step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character. So now for my part is humbly asking him to remove the shortcomings. Um, give you a little background on me. I was a social drinker for much of my life. And when I got a little bit older into my late 30s or early 40s, I started drinking a little more frequently. And COVID hit, and I was drinking more and more. And eventually, later that same year, 2020, an intervention was done that led to me going to a detox center, and they beelined me to Caron. So I couldn't admit I was an alcoholic. I was very much in denial about that and very defiant and blamed everyone else, which makes it very appropriate that I'm speaking on, a step that has to do with my shortcomings and character defects, because I didn't think I had any back then. But I have come to understand that is not the case at all. So, um, I I work a program in AA, 12-step program. And when I first got out of Caron, I was told like do 90-90, get a sponsor, start working steps, things like that. And I listened to everything I was told and found my sponsor actually on a Caron meeting. Ironically, she is a Caron alum as well. And we started working through the steps. I can't talk about step 7 without kind of reminding everyone how steps 4, 5, and 6 go. And that being because it's very important to build yourself up to being ready to have God remove these shortcomings. Step 4, if you guys remember, you make that list of resentments. And for me, resentments were my number one.
Okay.
I had so many resentments against people in my life, my husband being at the top of that list. I know now that that was just my alcoholism and wanting to blame someone for what had happened, where I was, all the problems in my life that led to my drinking and my disease just really coming out full force. So I want to reference like in the big book, resentments, and this is like really important on page like on one of the pages in the big books. It says resentment is the number one offender. It destroys more alcoholics than anything else, right? So it like blocks our spiritual growth. And the fact that I was holding on to resentment so strong really made it hard for me. But that's why we work the steps. That's why we do the step 4, make that list. And then comes the point where you have to look at what's my part? Like, what did I do? And that for me, someone who was in such denial, it's like, I didn't do anything. I don't have any, any part in this whole thing. But the fact is, I did. And by working through that, I was able to look at myself, my place in these relationships, and start to move forward and share things with my sponsor in step 5, and then in step 6, make that like I said, step 6, entirely ready to have God remove the defects. So when I could look at that list of defects of character, um, perfectionism, people pleasing, For me, overthinking, which is one I still hold on to. There are some that, we just, I joke that I just like it too much. I can't let it go completely. But the bottom line is being willing to have God remove, that from me. And so, the big thing for me with the resentments was that, a situation happened that between my husband and I that I just really was holding. I got out of Caron, like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. I was listening, I was being the best, um, like the whole perfection thing, the best sober person I could be. And I still was holding this. I was feeling this brick wall and wanting to blame and blame. And in working with my sponsor, and the cool thing and crazy thing about this is we live 3 hours apart. So we were on Zoom doing step work. And I will never forget as I'm talking about this resentment and I'm just like, but this, but that, like going on and on. And she's like, what's it gonna take, T? Like, what's it gonna take? And I had the most amazing spiritual awakening, indescribable, where it was literally like my mind opened and this rush of emotion came over me. And in that moment, I'm like, oh my God, I need to let it go. I need to let go of this resentment because it's blocking me from moving forward in my recovery. And I can't, it's just indescribable. For anyone who's had a spiritual awakening or a spiritual experience, you kind of know what I mean. But I think because I was so willing and open-minded to go through the steps and to um proceed in my step work that I had this happen and it literally was just her asking me what's it going to take. And in that moment I was able to say, you know what, if not this, something else. Like in my situation, nobody died. I didn't hurt, myself. I wasn't hospitalized. I didn't have anything major happen to me in the grand scheme of this resentment that I just couldn't let go of. And then I became like, in a strange way, grateful. I was thankful that this silly thing, when I look back, happened that allowed me to get where I was. And, I would hear people talk about early on early in my recovery about being a grateful alcoholic, or I'd be like, how the hell are you grateful? Like that doesn't make sense to me. But I understand it now because by having the series of events happen and leading to my alcoholism, leading to me, having an intervention, going to detox, going to Caron, learning about my disease, feeling for the first time in a long time that I wasn't alone, that there's this whole network of amazing people that are also in this with me, that I was able to come out like and emerge with this amazing life and be this really, really good person. And I just, that's where I feel grateful that it all happened. And I feel grateful that doing my step work and having that step 7 experience, handing it over allowed me then to kind of apply that to other things where I can be like, you know what? I don't need to be a perfectionist. I don't want to be perfect. Like I can hand that over. I don't need to please everyone. I just need to make sure I'm doing the next right thing and hope that, other people um like me. And if they don't, then that's not for me to worry about. Again, the overthinking I mentioned already. I tend to overthink things, which, my husband's on this meeting right now. He's probably like, yes, yes, you do. But that's like at the end of the day, that's not really hurting a whole lot. But I do work on it because this is a lifelong commitment, being sober and having to work it, all of it every single day in order to stay sober. And it's more than just, putting down the drink. We have to live our lives as good people and know when to pause and know when to, you know, to not be reactive, and that takes a lot of time, but it's a work in progress always. um I'm going to just make sure I did have a few notes, but let me read to you. Oh, this was something important that I wanted to touch upon. So anyone who is familiar with the book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the big book, might or might not know this, but the interesting thing is that in the big book there are paragraphs kind of that go through, and this is like it starts in, let me get there. Um, chapter, so you got how it works, and then you get to into action, and that touches upon steps 5, 6, 7, 8. And the crazy part is there's only one paragraph in the big book on page 76, in case you're interested, that talks about step 6, and there's one paragraph that talks about step 7. And the step 7 paragraph is all about a prayer. So when we're ready, we say something like this: My Creator, I am now willing that you should have all of me, good and bad. I pray that you now remove from me every single defect of character which stands in the way of my usefulness to you and my fellows. Grant me strength as I go out from here to do your bidding. Amen. And it says we have then completed step 7. That basic, that's it. For further information about the step, there's a book called The 12 and 12, which is the 12 steps and 12 traditions, which goes more into depth with working the step. And then I think Mark referenced last week, the books Drop the Rock, and then the second one, Ripple Effect, which are really great about, those what we need to do in order to move forward and remove those character defects that are blocking us and standing in our way being useful. So um, I definitely, could take questions if anybody has any regarding this. But for me, just letting go of that biggest one, that resentment in that moment allowed me to move forward. And, at this point, I feel like there's no stopping me now. I plan to live a beautiful life in recovery and just continue to work hard at that. And, again, I'm going to say it, my Caron family is amazing. I love so many of you on this meeting that I know. And yeah, I think that's all I have. Thank you so
Thank,
much.
thank you, Tina. I'm going to stop the recording.